Sir, can you hear me? A very good evening to everyone. I'm Kolla Krishna Madhavi, and we have been going through international marketing. Today, we will be moving to block three, that is international marketing strategy. This block describes the international marketing strategies, how international marketers design their marketing strategy. It also describes the product life cycle and its significance in marketing plan. This block consists of three major units. Unit 7, International Marketing Planning. Unit 8, Segmentation, Targeting and Positioning, which is more popularly called as STP. And then we have the last unit in this block, that is International Services Marketing. So let us start looking at Unit 7, that is International Marketing Planning. So in this, we'll fundamentally be understanding how international marketers design their marketing strategy. This includes product pricing, promotion, and place. Then we'll also be describing the product life cycle and its significance in marketing plan. And then the four P's of marketing, that is product pricing, promotion, and place, will be followed by competitive international markets and the consumer behavior thereof. We'll also be looking at the impact of the country's government of that particular host country on the international marketing planning. And finally, we'll be discussing the designing and controlling marketing efforts in international markets. So the structure will be in terms of introduction, strategic market planning, pricing, distribution and promotional strategies, product life cycle, or what is also called as market life cycle, then international product policy, competition and international marketing strategies, consumers, government action, production resources, planning for third world markets, and controlling the marketing effort. This will be followed by a final summary. So let us start off today's session by looking at the introduction. So the marketing function supports other business functions and it ensures the success of an organization by providing a detailed analysis of both opportunities and a systematic approach to selling to well-defined market segments. So the market planning process is concerned with identifying what and to whom sales are to be made, what needs to be sold, to whom it needs to be sold. We also need to understand this is in the long term. And why so? Because we need to meet the sales targets. So most companies equate planning process with simple forecasting and budgeting methods. But we'll also understand that while that is one part of the planning for the future, it does not provide avenues for future growth. There are figures which need to be substantiated with some plans. So the following problems occur when organizations rely solely on forecasting and budgeting methods for planning their activities. And what are they? One is missed opportunities. Second is unrealistic objectives, where you are setting for yourself goals which cannot be reached easily or cannot be reached at all because of certain market or legal or judicial constraints. Market information that is not useful in decision making, numbers in long range plans that convey little information to the customer, at the same time to the company as well in terms of the growth opportunities, the management frustration in terms of entering a new market, any pricing confusion between domestic and international pricing, because we often see that they are this is a variable component by most companies. While it's pretty uniform within a country, they may change the pricing of the product when it cuts across to a different country, and increased vulnerability to environmental change. So if we were to look at the usefulness and effectiveness of a plan, we need to understand it depends upon the quality of information available. And what is this information all about? It is about the business environment. So when we talk in terms of business environment, like we have already spoken in the past, we need to understand that this consists of both macro environment, that is external to the company, and micro environment, which is internal to the company. So objectives have to be realistic because they need to be aligned with the firm's capabilities, like assets, competencies, and a reputation. For example, if I were selling shirts, if I wish to start selling machinery which manufactures shirts, now the second is not in my area of expertise. As a company, I know how to produce good quality shirts, but I have no clue in terms of what shirting machines are all about and what is required there. So we need to understand what is our assets, competencies, and market reputation. So the process of setting objectives influences an organization's effectiveness. So if I'm being far-fetched and say that I want to sell machinery from tomorrow, when all I have been doing is selling shirts over the last few years, then definitely my focus has changed. While that may be a good thing in some cases, we need to understand it cannot be done arbitrarily. It needs to be first aligned with the organization's goals and also in terms of what is the organization's inadequacies. So, the strategies of a firm are formulated on the basis of, as we understand, its capabilities and the opportunities in the market. So, both factors are important while we are designing the strategy of a firm. One is the company's own capabilities, and second is the opportunities that are available in the international market. We also need to understand that financial objectives are a good measure of the desired performance of a company. However, they do not help in identifying strategies that match the firm's capability with respect to market opportunities. So, what are the market opportunities that are available? At the same time, sorry, is my firm capable of seizing that market opportunity and being able to deliver a quality and timely product to match the requirement? So this needs to be understood. So if you see across a spectrum of companies, we find that they are most often, if not all the time, focused on the number oriented system. What is this number oriented system? It fundamentally means that the organization is thinking in terms of what returns will I get. It also disallows collection, analysis, and synthesis of market data. So, when we're talking about all these activities, we need to also understand that strategic market planning is a logical sequence, and it is not a single activity but a series of activities. So, first thing is it's a logical sequence. What follows next? There is a logic to it, and it consists of a set of activities, it or a series of activities which are followed one after another. So neither can we cut down on the series, nor can we do an arbitrary jumping around in terms of what activity I would like to do first. There is a protocol that needs to be followed. So here what we need to understand is that a general management orientation for strategic market planning is not sufficient. What we need is uh, it has to be also clubbed with a functional orientation. So while a functional orientation forms the basis, a general management orientation sits on top of it and gives a right approach to the company to define in terms of their business, the goals and objectives, and the functional strategies, and of course the budgeting to go abroad. So, in order to define the business, it's important to know the very purpose of the business. So, the product or market scope is another consideration for defining the business. Like we were talking earlier, if my company is manufacturing shirts, and if I want to suddenly go into the manufacturing of the machinery which helps to automate the shirt manufacturing process, now that is not my core strength. So that is what we are trying to focus on here. So one is the product scope and second is the market scope. What is that particular market looking at? What kind of technology they are looking at? What is their requirement? What are the sensibilities of that particular nation? What does the government tell in terms of what can be sold in that market and what cannot be sold? We also need to understand that companies do not allow every product to be sold in their country. For example, if I already have a good amount of handloom weavers in India, the government may put a legislation saying that we do not want to import any handloom weavers or handloom weaved material as we have weavers whose interests we need to nourish and protect. So those kind of legislatives may also be there. Another important consideration is, of course, the technologies, the product market segments, target markets, and competitive positioning. So, performance goals and objectives that are quantifiable and achievable form the main constituents of a strategic plan. So, performance goals and objectives. So, what needs to be done? At the same time, we need to understand they have to be also quantifiable and achievable. Once some measures of performance, such as market share, return on investment, and profit to sales ratio, are defined, broad goals and specific objectives are identified for the business. So, the next step involves allocation of human resources and financial resources to support the programs developed in the functional plan. And the final step involves measurement and review of the performance of programs. This is a typical step that is seen in any kind of a planning process, and the same applies for international marketing planning as well. Now, research has indicated that companies that did not have integrated, coordinated, and internally consistent plan for marketing activities fail to capture substantial market share. So, what are the advantages or benefits of market planning? They include active coordination among individuals in the organization whose actions are interrelated over time. The second one is anticipation of future development. Third is readiness to face changes that occur. And finally, enhanced communication among executives and minimization of conflict. I hope all of this is clear so far. Now we'll be moving into the next aspect, that is the pricing strategy. So, international pricing decisions depend on several factors. What are they? Pricing objectives, cost, competition, customer demand, and government requirements. So, in an empirical study, it was found that total cost is the most important factor in determining the price of a product. And it makes total sense. Don't you think so? Because while we have other factors to be considered, like what are the competitors' pricing policies, the company's out of pocket costs, its ROI, that is return on investment policy, and the customer's ability to pay, the company needs to fundamentally understand what is the cost to me to manufacture and distribute this product. What is my total cost? So companies follow two approaches when they are working on their pricing strategy. The first one is called the cost approach, and the second one is called the market approach. So based on this, they are able to arrive at the total cost. So let us look at cost approach. The cost approach is used in computing relevant costs. So the desired profit markup is added to relevant cost to identify total cost. So here the cost approach, as we know, is very popular. And why so? Because it is easy to comprehend and use. And it also it can provide stable prices because the costs are more or less standardized over a period of time. However, there are certain drawbacks. What are the two drawbacks? If we were to look at that, the first one is whether to consider fixed and variable costs together or just variable costs. Now, if I were to look at just variable costs, I don't really arrive at the total cost of that particular product. So that becomes a point of query. The second one is if fixed costs are also included, what fraction of fixed costs are to be included? Because fixed costs are costs that have occurred in a one-time basis. However, the repercussions of that fixed cost will be seen over a long period in time. Now, companies cannot recover that money at one shot. So, what do they need to do? They need to apportion a part of the fixed cost over a period of time to the product's cost so that a the product cost is more realistic and it is more of a total cost that is involved. Second, by apportioning a part of the fixed cost over a period in time, we understand that if we were to recover it in one go, then definitely the company will show a negative pricing model because there is no way that the entire cost of some fixed assets can be recovered in one instance or while selling some products. It has to be taken into consideration over a long period in time. And then the third factor is should costs pertaining to R&D and administrative overheads be included or not. Typically, for a firm to arrive at a total cost, they may consider all three factors, that is the fixed cost, the variable cost, and the administrative overheads or administrative costs. But again, it varies company to company. Now, while we were looking at the cost approach, now let us look at the market approach. So here pricing is done in exactly the opposite manner. So what does the firm do? First, it arrives at an acceptable price in that target segment it is estimating. So this price is analyzed to see whether it can meet the company's profit objectives. And I am determining the price of my product based on what are the conditions prevalent in that particular market, both in terms of competitors and any possible government regulations. So, if the price does not allow the company to meet its profit objectives, then alternatives are either to reduce the cost itself or to increase the price. In a worst case scenario, what does the company do? The company might have to give up business if it is not profitable enough and it is not able to recover its costs. So, adjustments in the price are made to cope with competitors, host country government demands, and other eventualities. And the final price is determined based on the market. So the market approach is widely used in Japan, where a typical firm first examines its likely competitors their products, and it arrives at an estimated unit cost to be fixed for an entire product life before entering into a market. Then its engineers design the product in order to meet the target cost. So this is a very interesting approach. So first they're arriving at the pricing, and then the engineers are going back and doing reverse engineering to determine the target cost. For example, when Canon wanted to challenge Xerox in early 1980s, it fixed its target price at USD 1000. However, Canon at that time was selling its least expensive copier in several thousand US dollars. So, how can it sell its product for just $1,000? So, if Canon had attempted to reduce the cost of existing models radically by making changes in their prices, it would have been met with failure. So, what did Canon engineers do? They did a reverse engineering where they tried to meet the challenge of reinventing cheaper copiers without compromising on quality. So, they kind of rebuilt the product based on the pricing that they had set earlier. So that way they were able to navigate through this uh, pricing dilemma. The next one is distribution strategy. So distribution channels link producers and customers. So a firm operating in international market distributes its products either directly or indirectly, same as in the domestic market. So what does it do? It distributes directly through a foreign firm or indirectly through an intermediary. So an international marketer should not try to change the existing distribution system in the host country because each country has its unique distribution system which gets evolved over a period of time. If we were to consider the distribution system in Japan, it is considered a little old fashioned, complex, cumbersome, and inefficient. Now, if developed countries are to be considered, then we find they have better levels of distribution, more specialty stores and supermarkets, more department stores, and more stores in the rural areas compared to Japan. But MNCs operating in Japan need not attempt to change the distribution channels radically. What they can do is work within the country's established distribution channel processes. The next step that we are going to consider is the promotion strategy. So, what is promotion? Promotion can be defined as communication by the firm to its target audience with a view to informing and influencing them. So, here international promotion is concerned with the management of promotion in different countries other than the home country. So international promotions is different from domestic promotion as far as the means of communication, target audience, and the company goals are concerned. All three factors, that is, means of communication, target audience, and company goals. So they define whether the product is ready to go into the international market and thereby its promotion. So, what does international promotion involve? It involves the same factors as an internal promotion, that is, advertising, personal selling, and sales promotion. And if an international advertising agency faces two sets of constraints, the internal environment of the company and the international environment, we see that in most cases, the promotion in international markets is near difficult, more difficult. Why? Because in if we consider domestic market, there is a lesser difference in terms of language or government controls or media availability or economic differences, local distributors, and the availability of the agency vis-a-vis the newspaper process. So, personal selling is another important tool which is increasingly being used in international marketing. So, this involves personal contact with the end user or potential buyer. We have spoken about personal selling in our previous sections, so you may wish to go back and refer those videos. So, whenever human interaction is involved, culture comes into the picture. These formats entails that personal selling is relatively more culture bound than, say, impressionable advertising. So, different constraints characterize different countries. So, for example, in Saudi Arabia, it is difficult to find qualified sales representatives to the labor shortage and the low status of attempts that are made to sell in that particular profession, that is the selling profession. So in India, sales force management is difficult. And why so? Because of differences in language. Then we have used and also the caste system. If we were to see, say, in Brazil, Salesforce compensation is completed by rampant inflation. So, as international marketers prepare a promotional strategy and they clearly determine the role to be played by the people involved in personal selling in each market. So, here, what is the government talking about? They say, as a result, pan European advertising is more common than pan European sales promotion. So, an international marketer has to take all these aspects into consideration before formulating sales strategies for promotion. So, now let's move to the next aspect, that is product life cycle or market life cycle. So, if we were to look at that, what is PLC or product life cycle? So, an analysis of this helps us to understand that PLC is a valuable tool in the hands of an international marketer. Particularly, we are talking from India and its perspective. However, it applies equally to other genres as well. So, product life cycle is a valuable tool in the hands of an international marketer. And what does the typical uh, format do? So, product life cycle is consisting of factors like introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. So the pattern may vary from product to product. So understanding the pattern of PLC is required for some time. Then it becomes easy in terms of organizing that information to succeed in marketing strategy. So now let us look at introduction. In the introduction stage, the product is introduced into the market. So here market is determined by the locals, that is the ones who hold that particular piece of business or who wish to navigate with you a particular piece of business. So once that is done, there has to be some other factors that need to be considered. Although they are difficult, they would consist of only a few sellers being able to afford the tolerant technical know-how, that is marketing and other costs to launch the product. The second one is the risk of new product failure, and it is noted that it is typically very high. The introduction stage is also marketed by zero or sometimes negative profits or negligible sales. So this has become initial reverse gold um, at the age of PLC. So let us move on to the second aspect, that is in terms of wealth. But before that, any questions that you all have? I'll be happy to take them now or later, whichever you prefer.
Hello?
Yes, sir. You can hear me.
Madam, time అయిపోయింది మేడం.
Just give me 10.
Okay.